Okay, Tulane here in this one, going up against Memphis and Tulane with a. This is a big game, man. This is a big game. It probably isn't the big game. It stands to be a pretty big game right now. I guess there's going to be more big AAC games down the line a little bit, but just considering the top of the standings right now and the teams having good records, I've got to consider this a pretty significant game in this conference. Get the cheat sheet over here. A little bit of cramped quarters here. I'm sorry I'm in your face. That's the last thing you probably want. Tulane, with their 4-1 record, comes in. They won their only road game so far this season, a 21-3 victory as an 8-point favorite over Southern Mississippi. Uh, for Tulane, they're 5-2 against the spread as a road favorite, and Fritz has also been good in his stop 12-5 against the spread as a road favorite. And Tulane's been real great in the AAC since Fritz came there. They're 35-23 against the spread in conference. But they are going up against a Memphis team here that, they certainly know how to put points on the board. They're averaging, probably, 31 and a half, 32 points per game. I'm just looking at the log. I could add it up in my head, I guess. But 37, 28. Pardon me, 38, 27, 35. So they have given up some yards too this season, but maybe they can reel it in here a little bit against Tulane. I mean, after all, they are a home underdog here, and I don't know. I'd give Memphis a pretty big shot here to win. Uh, let's see here in the comments. I did see already Memphis. Oh, Blake was, he's our Tennessee correspondent. He wants Memphis here. Showing 4.5, but actually, let's see if there's some fives. Yeah, I mean, I should probably update the line, but again, I'm always like to give myself the worst line possible. So I'm going to take Memphis in this game. Blake and I, right? Maybe I'm going to practice a consensus here today. I don't know if we're going to release it, but I did get approval from the home office, and what we'll have is, similar to what we had before with my previous partner, but you guys are my partner now. So I think what it's going to be is if it's like a unanimous pick with me in the chat, I think it's going to go down as one of our premium consensus. And then I'm not, sharing the profits with you. I am, right? So if we win, we are sharing the profits, and that hopefully is going to be the motivation for you guys to participate. You already give me your picks, and that'll be probably the Morning Steam Select product that I was trying to describe yesterday. And then we'll repackage them and sell them. And then if we end up with a good record, we'll look at what we'll be able to do there is every day when we look at the handicapper leaderboards, what we'll be seeing is the morning steam, much like we did with Mindy and I, and when it was our picks, and we'd say, "Look how good we're doing," on the show with our. But here, it's going to be, "Look how good you and I are doing against the rest of the handicappers." Howard, love you. Hey, this is old school. If I wish we had my buddy in here, one of my buddies that have come in, but we always used to go with the old Hollywood. Remember W.C. Fields, right? You'd say, "Hey, you burp, hey, you burp." It's kind of like baby, "Hey, you burp." So thank you, Howard. Nice to have you here. I knew when you were saying "Good morning, my babies," and again, like I said, the famous poker announcer that still says that on every show. Hello, my babies. But I knew you were talking to both Mindy and I. So thanks for still hanging around here. Anyways, Memphis hasn't been terrific actually so far in the conference here. They're just 9-16 in their last 25 against the spread in conference. Solo, I think, let me get all these in here on this game. This is great. Okay, so this maybe wouldn't be a premium here because Solo likes Tulane. I'm giving out Memphis. Solo and I got the challenge together. Might be tough, we're trying to rebuild our audience a little bit. I know everyone, some, we're loyal to Mindy, whatever, and they're going over, but we've got enough. And if it gets too many, we'll never have a consensus. So that's kind of what we've got to weigh here and how we're going to do that. But let's take a look. Tulane here, -4.5. Tulane team total over, and the game to go over as well. I will say this about that total. It's gone over in 3 of the last 4 meetings. Oh, also Pratt here over 234 yards passing. So Memphis 4-1 as a home dog against the spread of late, and since Silverfields have been in here. So I'm going to roll with a little bit of a home dog here, especially at the increased price, and take the points. But respect to Solo, who actually gives me a little stat to boost my position a little bit, but still. And the total definitely, so talking about Solo there, kind of moving on the total over in the game, definitely the best price. When we were on that show, I think it opened 56.5. It did touch 57.5, and now, though, all the way down here, it looks like to 54. Let me actually, since it is Solo's pick to go over, I'll leave it at that. But I do see right now 55 at BOL, 55 bet you at South Point, 55.5. So this one's going up a little bit here this morning, or I don't know, but it's gone up a little bit. Tulane has lost its last 8 games at Memphis. That's a pretty big sample size. However, well over, uh, close to 2 decades, I believe, of results on that. And yeah, Solo said, "I home team has won 4 straight, at least, right? Is it 4 or is it more? I didn't look back all of them actually, Solo. So you probably have it right. I usually although for me, like we say in college football, like you know, some right. So like if a home team won eight straight trips, 2 year, 20 years. I mean, well, is that anything? But college football is kind of like that thing where the programs are the same and the names on the back, right? You don't get like, uh, if you get one of those ultimate game changing superstars, I mean, that puts you in a different category. Other than that, it's just changing the names on the back of the jerseys, and you figure programs are getting the same type of recruits or fitting in the same type of roles for the most part year after year. Um, yeah, teams go up and down, but there are different rivalries and whatnot. So, okay, thanks a lot, you guys, for that one. Let's move on. And Fresno State is going to visit Utah State tonight in a Mountain West matchup, and Fresno State on the road here at -4. And I'm showing actually a little bit going up here a little bit now into maybe to 4.5 or so. It did open 6 and then went up to 7, and there's been buyback here, quite a bit of. I wouldn't even say buyback. I'd say the move is on Utah State here, even though Fresno State comes in 4-1. I think we got the news they were looking for. Let's see here if I have a injury report. Okay. Oh yeah. No. Okay. That's why. Yeah. So Keene is downgraded to doubtful in this game. So no Mikey Keene at quarterback, and I'm sure that's why the move from Fresno State -7 to -6, and we got that news yesterday or I guess late Wednesday night, that Mikey Keene would be doubtful for this game. So that does change the complexion of the game a little bit. But Utah State, their quarterback also is questionable. So that's why also we've seen this total drop drastically from uh, a high of 60. Let's see, it opened on that show 50 or 52 and a half and was bet up to 56 and a half, and it went all the way up as high as a 63. But once that news started to, you know, and it was early, I mean, it was real early in the betting cycle that the quarterbacking situation would be, questionable for both teams. That total started to drop. Now I will say this though about that, uh, these the system that these two teams are running, um, does allow for a lot of plays to be run. Both teams are averaging, I believe, about 70 plays per game. Now, yes, maybe those quarterbacks are a little more polished. Maybe they have a bit more grasp of offenses because of their veteran. But to me, it's kind of like the system approach for Fresno State and Utah State. I don't think that much is going to change about the number of plays being run in the game, and I think that this total may provide a slight bit of value uh, on the over here. My pick is going to be on Utah State. Without Keene in there, yeah, could have got those other points. We didn't know, or well, we do now. But I'm going to pick for Utah State here. I would just have to think this is more of a toss-up game now, possibly for Hillstead. Listed as questionable right now. It is a concussion, so we'll look to get more information there. I imagine there could be further line movement if he is ruled in the game or officially out. Maybe we could see further adjustment. As far as other uh, tidbits coming in, it, like I said, maybe affects some of the talk that I might have as far as offensive statistics are concerned, because Fresno has been putting up quite a bit of points, certainly, averaging 38 points in their four wins against 1A competition. They also have a win against a 1AA opponent. They're 8-5 against the spread, their last 13 as a road favorite, and Tedford is 20-15-2 against the spread in conference. And for the Aggies, they also have looked very good offensively, scoring 78 points in their last two games. And uh, what can you say about Utah State? They continue to, they're 3-3 now, but I mean, they might be getting a little bit of momentum rolling. I mean, they are a team that's been very good since Anderson came in here, although they are 5-7 against the spread as a home dog, and that is typical of Utah State, who quite frankly has been a bad home dog for a number of years now. In their last 17 games as a home dog, just a 5-12 record against the spread. So uh, one other problem that they do kind of have is with turnover margin, and they were able to overcome it a little bit, and they've done well in this series. Utah State has won three of the last four games. It's gone over in three of the last four as well. Blake is going to take Utah State plus 4.5 here. Darren says he likes the over, and he would tease it down though. Here, let's see, what is it? 56. So maybe he's taking it to 50 or so. But when you're talking about, maybe it will if it's a close game, that sometimes can help overs a little bit. But I'm gonna hook up with Utah State here in this one. The last 3 weeks, Utah Utah State is averaging 368 yards through the air themselves. So, you know, like I said, Fresno State, they're definitely on a backup, but these two teams, I think it might be about the system a little bit with having starting quarterbacks out limit things. Yeah, that could. It definitely could. It definitely probably will. But again, they with the way these two teams go, it still could be what we've seen from these two teams. I mean, you talk about that type of offense. If Utah State is going for 350 a game and Fresno State's averaging 38 points a game, yeah, they're on the road here against a decent opponent. Knock them down a little bit, but still. It was a first loss last week, of course. A little bit of a disappointment there, I think, for Fresno State in the loss against Wyoming. But Wyoming is what can you say? They found their way to the uh, top of the mountain here thus far. So, great job by Wyoming at this point. Who'd have thunk it? All right, let's go to because hey, it wouldn't be uh, a sports betting show if you didn't talk about the Colorado Buffaloes at home against the Stanford Cardinal. And Colorado here is a double-digit favorite against Stanford. Okay, well, I get it. Maybe we're moving back into, you know, where Colorado feels more comfortable laying double digits. Hello to Who Banging here today, talking about that Fresno game. He's got Fresno laying it on the road. Looks like we got a challenge, big boss. Well, you know me. I'm just grabbing those points. That's all there is to it. We could. You're gonna be on some home dogs more often than not. I'll respect the Fresno State play. Hey, here comes Blake with his comment already on this game. Double digits with Colorado with that defense. Not me. Take Stanford. But Solo says, why is everyone taking Stanford? So two different two different opinions right there, right now already. Look, it was a bye week for Stanford, and it's a short week for Colorado. So that's what sharps look for anyway, right? I mean, I don't want to say that Solo. Uh, Look, we're not square here in our chat. We've got one of the most sophisticated chats on sports gambling YouTube. But there is a little bit there as far as that's concerned with Stanford coming off a bye. And, you know, they probably could use it. They weren't really scoring. They weren't really doing much before that. They'd only scored 59 points in their last four games. So, good question. Why is everybody taking Stanford? No, the move has definitely come in. I would say here, you look at the line movement of this game. I mean, it opened as low as mostly 11, but I mean, Circa tried to get cute and went to 9. So, and it looks like Hu Bangin said that Stanford, they have a high ceiling there and they maybe can wiggle out and get a cover here. Don't fade Colorado, though, at home at this point. And here's what I'm thinking on this one, Big Boss, is that um, short week, the Friday, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's going to be pretty electric. It is Friday night and not a Saturday. I don't. It may be the maybe the Friday night will be even more electric. Maybe that's the way it's going to be. But it did, like I said, does shorten the week for the Buffs, where Colorado has had that week to that extra week here. Solo is on Colorado, showing a lot of movement here actually to uh, Solo lists it there at 11 and a half. I'm listing it at 12, but and again, my pick here is going to be on Stanford. and I'll leave it at 12. Maybe I could even pull it back to 11 and a half to try to be fair. But actually, to be honest, we're seeing some 12 and a half starting to hit the market here. Circa is currently at 12 and a half, and so is Bovada. DraftKings still hanging out at 11 and a half. So it looks like we'll just end on 12, and that's where I kind of put it here, whether or not there'll be, much movement. So, but I don't go in. One thing I don't do, even though it's something that I pay more attention to than uh, most anybody. I mean, anybody who's picking game, right? Some people look in, and there's always a discussion about ticket counts and handle, and of course, I'm all about ticket count. I'm not about handle. And again, you don't trust those numbers. And I saw one of my favorite cappers yesterday on the internet talking about it, saying, that one of the things that's kind of misleading, and that's why I use a line service where they have a compilation or a consensus of those numbers, at least the closest you can get it. Anyway, that's what you pay for. But sometimes when you're looking at some of the free sites, right? So, for example, one of the popular sites only lists the betting splits from one particular book. Well, you know what happens if some people, a lot of people, might have more than one book, especially when you're talking about two books. And you might be talking about the two biggest books in the country, the FD book and the DK book. And if the FD book is laying a -7 and the DK book has a 7.5, well, guess what? That's going to help the percentage of tickets and handle at -7.5 at book A, while book B is going to be heavy to the underdog because they've got the 7.5. So when you have a discrepancy like that, that's what occurs, and so that sometimes throws it off. Now, I'm not saying subscribe to the services or whatever. You can get some consensus. You might have to look around, but anyways, so Solo said, "Why is everybody in Stanford?" And I think so to help Solo on this one a little. I'm not, Solo's their own person, but uh, the move right appears to be like the sharp move maybe here. Uh, Not necessarily the line move. It keeps going up right now, and maybe it is reflective of what we actually are seeing. Not to condescend against Solo, but uh, my consensus numbers do show that about 2/3 of the money and the action is actually on Colorado. I feel like it is the public side actually. Uh, I don't think there's gonna be many people, other than people like me on Stanford. So it should be an exciting night. Hello to Rim Most here as well. And Double says that total has gone up to 60. And Solo says that Shador will have time. How about his numbers? I mean, 2,000 yards already. Uh, just so impressive so far. But you just wish, you know, that you had Hunter. Not that it's they, like I said, they've got a lot of a lot of talent, and I think that to a certain extent, maybe Colorado still ends up a little bit on the short end, a little bit because there's enough people out there willing to, kind of say, hey, this is fluky or whatever. It's not really. They went out and got, you know, like I said, most of the teams, if they were heavily affected by the transfer portal, they were bringing in, maybe 10 guys. Not Stanford, with their huge, bringing in the 80 or whatever, and Texas State bringing in 40 or whatever it was. Those two teams were head and shoulders above. So, uh, Cardinals right now in a pretty funky run of a record here at 7 wins and 22 losses in their last 29 games, and they've even lost to Sacramento State. So, I don't know if I can try to tout you on try to uh, push my pick over on you on this one, but in conference, I'm going to take 12 points here with Stanford tonight, and Colorado at home, averaging 40 points a game, certainly right now. Now they did, in their losses, they gave up big points, but double-digit favorite here, certainly. No Hunter. Colorado terrible against the spread in conference of late, but probably not gonna, because of the turnover there. So, but just what Colorado's been able to do is impressive. The coordinator, think of all these. The coordinator came from Kent State, the offensive coordinator. So Stanford just 10-25 against the spread in conference of late. 2-8 as a road underdog. I'm almost trying to push myself off this play, giving you some of these trends, but uh, I'm still taking Stanford here to hang in there in this one. And I just, when I look at the Pac 12, uh, I feel like it is very deep. I feel like the conference is having a great year. I don't think it's a fluke. Yeah, is Stanford, you know, bottom of the barrel here in conference? Maybe. Could it be a spot for Colorado? Uh, not at their best. That's what I feel because of Stanford, the full 2 week prep, and Colorado having to play a Friday night, a 6 day week. So playing a little bit of angle there, I think, for me. All right, Stanford. Uh, Their win came against Hawaii, which hasn't looked good, but Hawaii, the one thing Hawaii does is pass the ball very, very well. And they held them to 24 points. A big difference, I understand, between Hawaii and Colorado at this point, but definitely a passing, both pretty prolific passing teams.